On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're answering your questions. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by Bradley Ellis.
Achievements!
Brandon Jones.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing.
Is that how that works?
And achievements. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Jones,
are we not blowing out birthday candles or like putting quarters down a well?
Pretty much every time.
Is this where we do this?
We send it out into the ether.
Okay. If Animal Crossing for Switch debuts with new achievement system, be perfect.
Dude, we're gonna do the ultimate.
They can remove
that game is meant for
They can
achievements.
remove achievements from Xbox and PlayStation as long as it means like an Animal Crossing. I will if I never get a trophy for the rest of my life.
Hey,
let's
not be so selfish.
Now. I'm desperate.
Woo, Jones. We gotta get that Animal Crossing announcement very soon. But before we begin with any of your questions this week, I have some corrections due from last episode. I think the last episode got the most submissions.
Is it
for
timeline
corrections.
questions?
Oh, we got some Zelda stuff. There's some. Buckle up. So I do want to start with a message, though. This isn't necessarily a correction.
Okay.
But there were some comments on social media after the last episode. Just want to say it's not cool to make fun of Iwata's pronunciations of stuff. We had some people trying to use his accent. So, if he because he pronounces NES, and I'm not going to give the example. So we should pronounce so and so this way because you know how he enunciates because. English is not his first language. So
right.
People are trying to, that's not cool. Please don't do that. Ignored all those comments and, warning, don't do that. That's not nice. Anyway, several actual corrections now. Several people point out Sakurai has stated that he has played several Western indie titles in recent years. He's even visited Way Forward, which is actually
very cool.
I'm not too far away from there. So he has clearly seen and is aware of Shovel Knight.
I was gonna say
last episode, our guest Matthew Simmons from Yo Video Games, I think, was under the impression that Sakurai, the reason he wouldn't put Shovel Knight in there is because Shovel Knight's not that big in Japan, and he might not be. You might be like, who's Shovel Knight, Yeah. But a lot of people came to Sakurai's defense saying, no, he knows who it is.
And he's in there. It's not a character, but
I guess in the past. It was.
Yeah.
I think the argument was in the past, why it hasn't happened. If I got any like that, and it wasn't Hollow Knight, it was definitely Shovel Knight. But anyway, Dark Samus, who's going to be an Echo Fighter in Ultimate, actually would also count as another American created fighter. Because we were debating who would be the first American created fighter in Smash Brothers, or first American content. Because King K. Rool is not because that's
British.
UK because it's rare.
Right.
So Dark Samus is Dark Samus. That
Texas,
because Retro created Dark Samus for the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Yeah.
Dark Samus is the antagonist of that series. Cool. Sorry I didn't get this right the first time. Pura Vida, guess it means pure life.
Yeah.
And it's common saying in Costa Rica. It's
yeah.
just a jolly thing.
I could have helped you with that one.
Yeah. I guess I was trying to translate it on the fly, and I was like, I think it means this. It's something life, and then we got off tangent, and we made a bigger deal of it. But jolly stuff.
Yeah, you get off the plane at the airport in Costa Rica and Pura Vida. Pura Vida! Someone will tell you that at some point in your vacation there. No question.
But thank you for that. That was really nice.
It's a good slogan. There's definitely a vibe down there.
Again, with our guest last time claimed that their crew, Yo Video Games, had not unlocked a stage in Smash Brothers during one of our discussions to make an argument. But several of their crew messaged us and said, actually, they have unlocked the Pac-Land stage.
Okay.
They're you even played it on one stream together, and you were yelling at them. And I was like, oh.
Got him.
All right. This one, here you go. This is the timeline
Let's
stuff.
go.
Here we go.
Give me it.
So, we were talking about some cool tidbits about the Zelda timeline and lore last time, and our guest Matt Simmons presented the hero shade from Twilight Princess, the skeleton that teaches Link all the new moves, presented the character's backstory. He explained what it was, but he presented it as a theory, not that it was conclusive. Right. That theory has actually been confirmed in Hyrule Historia, and basically it is the spirit of the spirit form of the hero of time. It's the spirit form of the hero of time, Link from Ocarina of Time, because in the timeline that he's in, the timeline B, the middle one, or the adult Link timeline, or basically it's the one after Link got sent back in time, and they avert the crisis. Ganon never gets a chance to assault Hyrule. So Link does.
Okay.
So that Link has memories of doing Ocarina of Time and stopping Ganon and saving Hyrule, but he doesn't actually do it in the end of his timeline. Like they stop it, and he doesn't really get credit for it. He doesn't have his adventure, so no one knows he's the hero of time. They just don't know it. So he kind of laments that he's not like this revered hero, but also he didn't hand down his skills to anyone else. So this is him getting a chance now in like spirit form to pass on his knowledge and skills to a new hero.
So is Twilight Princess right the next game after Ocarina?
So it's Majora's Mask and then Twilight Princess.
Okay.
And then Four Swords Adventures.
Oh.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Love it.
The good stuff. I think this was either me or Simmons or I was the one who presented this. I forget. We probably both did. But I know I've definitely said this before. Yoshiaki Koizumi did not write the story of the Wind Waker, at least as far as I could research it. I've been under disbelief for a while, and I thought I read it somewhere. Otherwise, I want to just like toss it out. Maybe it was just like someone who stated it incorrectly that was on a reputable site, and they just didn't have a source, and I just took it as fact. You know, we were all like young once and stuff like that, so didn't do my like due diligence. But I actually want to give credit where credit is due. Mitsuhiro Takano, who I believe is no longer with Nintendo. Their last game they worked on was actually Phantom Hourglass. And then they departed the company. I didn't look like the reasons why or anything like that. And then Hajime Takahashi, who's actually worked with Eiji Onuma on several of his titles and stuff, and has been working on the series. But I just still want to point out, because I basically said like the Wind Waker is such a great story because Koizumi, who's one of the better writers in this series, like had his hand in it. A lot of the Wind Waker's like root storyline is based in the mythos that Koizumi concocted. He started with he was hired to write the story, the manual for A Link to the Past, created a lot of the backstory about the creation of Hyrule, the goddesses, how the Triforce came to be. And he worked in a writing capacity all the way through Majora's Mask. And so a lot of that Hyrule, Ganondorf, Zelda, the Triforce, that's all from him. And the Wind Waker, while it has original parts, relies very heavily on the world of Ocarina of Time, essentially. So I want to give that. This one's a long one. This is a Resident Evil correction.
Ooh.
Because apparently we stated a perspective about the Resident Evil team, and we said that perception you all had of the Resident Evil team being a skeleton crew of the past talent of Capcom is quite common, but not actually true. Most people get too attached to Shinji Mikami and Kamiya's roles inside the franchise. However, there are still plenty of employees that started with the first Resident Evil title and that are still working on the series. As a matter of fact, they are now within high positions inside the Resident Evil team. So first off, Masachika Kawada was known for a long time as the franchise's producer, having his first experience as a stage CG lead designer in the original Resident Evil 1. Jun Takeuchi, who was recently the executive producer behind 7, worked with character models and motion on Resident Evil 1 as well.
Very cool.
And Yasuhiro Anpo, one of the 2 directors currently working on Remake 2, was a software system engineer on Resident Evil 1. Awesome. And last but not least, Kazunori Kadoi, the other director behind Resident Evil 2 Remake, was assigned as both system planner and member of the camera team within the original Biohazard staff. He even worked as a designer on Mega Man Legends later.
Oh.
Woo! So that is true. I think too many people do give too much credit to Kamiya and...
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, that happens all the time.
Oh yeah,
I would say
Mikami and Kamiya get a lot of the credit.
It has to, I'd say that carries over to many other franchises as well. Final Fantasy, I'm sure it's like how many, thousands of people have come and gone, worked on one game, then not the next one, but then maybe another random game down the road. And that's why it was always fun picking apart like what were the big names for each title. And a hard thing to research sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Especially from us being in America to Japan and understanding like who's at what company and how long and what their roles are specifically. Sometimes even when somebody has a name, it's like film. You see producer, it's like, well, they might not have done anything. Like,
very true.
So you don't know. Like, especially executive producer. That could literally just be a contract given. It's just like, oh yeah, put me EP on that. And they're like, all right. All you did was just act, but like you're the executive producer, I guess.
There's a lot of fascinating stuff behind who like worked on what and stuff as well. Like to this day, we still don't know who worked on Castlevania Jones. I know
that kills me, man.
Yeah, like that is that. Like just imagine that's such a a monumental game, and we don't know the real people.
And people have tried. I've read big campaigns of people like there's like a documentary. There's someone that just goes to Japan only to find out that information. It comes up completely empty-handed. Because so many people just don't care. You know, a lot of people that were on that team are like, oh man, I don't know.
It's so different.
And I couldn't tell you, you know, I don't know if it's a respect thing or if it's just like part of the culture where there's like, it's not my place to tell you where that person is working now.
Exactly.
You want that dirt?
It's difficult. You know, it's maybe one day.
One day.
But that will end it for our corrections. And moving on, we're gonna move into our Q&A segment. So basically, I just want to start off by saying there hasn't been a lot of big news in the wake of the Super Smash Brothers Direct that happened just about 2 weeks ago. We haven't had really anything major Nintendo news-wise come out of Gamescom. But I do want to give real quick shout outs. I don't want to talk about NPD numbers again. This happens on too many episodes, and I didn't want it to dominate this episode. But I want to give special shout outs. Octopath Traveler, which charted number 1 on the NPD.
Whoa,
number
really?
one.
Number
one
Wow.
spot on the NPD. So, success earned there, it
Great
seems.
time for that game to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Came out the perfect time.
Perfect time, and I think people seeing it chart now, I think it'll have an impact on some people who either were in the air about, like, their minds weren't like made up about it, seeing the reviews and seeing that it's selling so well. They might be like, oh wow, this is a big game, you know, maybe I should try it out. So we'll see if that can, you know, translates to continued sales down the road. And I'm sure this is going to obviously lead to probably an Octopath Traveler 2, or that team is definitely probably going to get another crack at another title of their choosing.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And yeah, because Jones, you played the most of it because you did the spoiler mode.
And I
stuff.
think what when I first started thinking of like the market for Octopath Traveler and you know the audience and all these consumers that you know showed up en masse to, you know, to make sure this game had a big launch. Just past the RPG genre to have any kind of retro leaning game. Number 1. It's great. You know, like we get a lot of really fun games. Dead Cells, I think, you know, like Hollow Knight is great, Guacamelee is great, but like these games couldn't run on NES. But like you still see something like a Dead Cells where it's like obviously it animates a lot better than something would on like a Super Nintendo, but it still has that kind of pixel aesthetic. And to see something that is such a loving tribute to that genre, to that time period, do so well, better than anything, is really great. And it's a fascinating thing. I think there's so many ways you can dissect Octopath and its marketing and who it was intended for and who showed up to get it as far as like reasons for its success. I think there's lots of different factors there. It's an interesting case study. I
wonder if this will open the door to that long-awaited dream remake treatment, like not HD treatment of
like
Final Fantasy 6, the one game that never got a remake of any kind, just got like re-released and ports
stuff.
Whereas 3 and 4 got the DS, they got that treatment, but 6, I think everyone. I keep hearing a lot of arguments about 4. It getting the Octopath Traveler visual treatment that 6 remade in the vein of how Octopath Traveler's visuals look.
Yeah.
And it sounds like people are on board for that.
I want to say yes to every project. There's some meeting, it probably already happened, but there's some meeting where they're like, okay, this sold really well, let's not go crazy, but beyond Octopath 2, what?
Let's remake every Final Fantasy.
What can we do?
1 through 6.
I mean,
or even like a sequel would be super. Well, I'd almost actually be weighted down for that.
I'm kind of worried they might be a little
6 sequel. You mean?
Yeah.
Jones. No, Jones. Let's not. Don't tell them to make sequels. No, they've all not gone very well. Let's not do that.
Yeah, the story was not one of the best things about Octopath at the end of the day. So maybe I'm sorry.
But
wait, I put it out in the world. Maybe let me get it back.
Yeah, that strikes a spear into my heart about some of the.
I would love a remake more than anything, but again, I just don't want to be picky at this point. I'm so happy it did so well.
That's a good point,
I'm so happy
Jones.
there's more projects in the future. Like I'm down
that's
for
a good
whatever.
point.
I'm just happy to be here.
But yeah, they should not be forced to do anything they want. They've earned the right, in my eyes, to work on whatever project they want to next, and they should be allowed to do it because they've proven themselves. Yeah. And I'm sure whatever they do next will be just as good, if not better. I also want to get this out of the way. There was a 20-minute indie presentation at the start of the head of Gamescom, and we also just found out today that next Tuesday they are doing basically an indies showcase ahead of PAX. Basically, just from now on, the week before PAX West, there's always going to be an indie showcase, probably just how it's going to be. So for the purpose of friend code, I'm going to save all indie game discussion until the following episode. I'm just going to roll in both presentations into one just full episode about indies. Clean. So if you ask any questions this week about indie titles for Switch, I'm purposely not taking them this week. Please ask them again on the next friend code, and very likely they will get in. And then what was the last thing I had? I think that was it. So that means
I have a couple things to talk about with new releases on Switch. Because I just think it's interesting. You reached out to the rest of the allies who would like to be on this episode of Friend Code, and I offered my services being available here. I'm always down for a podcast because it's my house. But I've been switching it up a lot lately. I just obsessively tried to finish Octopath. I go immediately from Octopath Traveler right into Overcooked. We streamed Overcooked on PS4, but then Amanda wanted to play it, and so we got it again on her Switch, and we've been playing. We're just wrapping it up now, trying to 3-star everything. And then we're going to be playing Monster Hunter Ultimate next week, and I got the code for that, so I got to download and play a bunch of that. I almost bought a game. I ended up not doing it. We'll talk about this later, actually. I'm curious when this is going to go up in relation to our countdown, because I almost bought a Switch game to get footage for our countdown, but then I didn't, because I knew I had it on another console, so I'm like, I don't want to waste money. We'll maybe get that. Nice. Get to that in a second. But it is a game I was curious in playing on Switch, just to plant that seed. But another fun game just came out, and this is like a smaller game that I don't think a lot of people will be talking about possibly on other Nintendo podcasts. But I don't know if anybody at this desk or in the audience has heard of Castle Storm. It's a game I played on 360 last gen, and it just came out this week. I think we got the code. I don't know. I think it might actually be coming out in a couple days. But I've been playing that really fun tower defense game where you're in a castle and your rooms in the castle help support either specific troops that you have or bonuses that you have. So if your opponent actually destroys your castle, you lose that functionality, the more damage that your castle takes. Okay. And it's a really smart strategy game because it's divided up into 3 things. So one is these projectiles that you can shoot. So you're actually aiming kind of Angry Bird style. You're chucking things over, and some of the cooler items are on cooldown, so you're just constantly throwing things. That's one button. Another button is summoning troops. So you can summon little dudes, bigger guys, mages that'll heal them, or guys on horseback that'll go a lot faster. In some of the missions, you have to send them out into the middle of the field to get a flag and take it back. So you send troops out. There is friendly fire. You can't turn it off. So when you have your projectiles, you're trying to hit the enemy, but not your own dudes.
It's a staple of that type of warfare.
And then the top button does magical spells and summons yourself onto the battlefield. So you can actively just get in there and jump and slash and knock guys back. So just the juggling, and the missions do a good job of changing up what, sometimes you can't use one thing or there's more emphasis on another. But just random game, totally just in my wheelhouse. So I don't know if that's something that everyone would enjoy. But if you love tactics, if you love tower defense, if you like any game that has a building momentum, kind of Plants vs. Zombies style, that was just kind of a fun experiment in that genre, and just came out on Switch. Or if it hasn't, it'll be within days.
Thank you for sharing that, Jones. Good recommendation.
Lots of Switch games in my life lately.
Yeah, we got our first question. I think this game might interest you as well, Jones. So our first question submitted from Logan: Do you think it's good that developers are porting 5+-year-old games like Saints Row, the first season of The Walking Dead, Skyrim, LA Noire, etc., to the Switch? Should Switch fans be happy with whatever ports they get, or should the focus be on porting more recent games like Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein 2, and Fortnite, as these tend to be more relevant today? Love and respect.
Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? And just to point out, THQ Nordic did just announce at the beginning of Gamescom that Saints Row the Third would be coming to Switch.
Yay!
And let's start there. They asked about the Saints Row the Third. Why
not the latest Saints Row?
Why do you think that is?
Top selling Saints Row, probably.
Most well received, maybe.
Yeah.
I highly doubt the other ones wouldn't be able to run on Switch. So I think, for whatever reason, the third stands out in my mind as probably one of the more popular, if not the most popular, of the series.
I tell you, I would much rather play a game like Saints Row than something like Wolfenstein on the Switch.
Okay.
Because Wolfenstein's very difficult. Lots of situational awareness, lots of targets coming from crazy directions. I can't say the same for Doom. I haven't played Doom, the remake, or the reboot, but whereas Saints Row, it's like just such low stress, so just wacky, zany, open worlds. You can go wherever. Like speaking to the portable nature of the Switch, I think it fits it much more if you're just like, on a bus or just like at the, doctor's office or something. You're like, I got 10 minutes. Oh yeah, Saints Row. Like, I'm just going to crack that open, jump in a tank, blow up some stuff, moving on. Whereas Wolfenstein, you might boot it up. Oh yeah, that's right. This part that's real tough. Like, I don't know if I want to deal with this with the small, shoulder buttons.
Yeah, like Doom is fun on it, but I would recommend every other version above it.
Right.
When I play it. Like, it's cool, but all the other versions are better, I think.
So these type of games, it would never happen, but something like a Sunset Overdrive, I think, would just do gangbusters on Switch. Like, just these games that were very minimum commitment for a short period of time. I could play for an hour, or I could play for 10 minutes. That's kind of like, I think the on the business card of the Switch. That's like what's written on it.
Yeah, my take on this really is, I mean, the Jones thing about your remark about wanting to have both. I mean, I don't think they're speaking to ports. I think if you look at what they're doing with the Wii U ports to Switch, which are doing well, I think publishers are going to look to their back catalog at their strongest games. So why you got a Skyrim? Like, Skyrim is obviously a very strong game. It's very old. Like, I know we have this argument all the time. It's based on the HD remaster, so it's not technically that old to some people, but. I think this is like Saints Row the Third. If our assumption is correct, it's either the best selling series or the most popular, best well received, whatever. That makes sense that they're reaching their catalogs to pick their strongest titles, their best performing, and throwing them on the Switch for a crowd that may not have ever played that game in the first place, or they would love to replay it again. And it's an
perfect opportunity. I was thinking about replaying it anyway, and now I can take it with me anywhere. I think it's great. I encourage everyone to at least just dip their toe in there, just experiment. Okay, like you were saying, like, what's number one? What's the number one thing that we know, regardless of what platform we put it on? Some people are probably going to show up and buy it again and support us. It sounds crazy, but there's still some people who haven't played Skyrim. I didn't play Saints Row the Third. I experienced that through other people. I remember Hey Ash did a really great episode on it back in the day. So like I remember the zeitgeist, and a couple friends of mine just played it like crazy, and so I'd go over and see an hour or two of it from their perspective. But it's just not something I actually invested in. And so I just think so many of these games, Hollow Knight, it's just did that do better than you thought it was going to coming back?
It was
only like a year since it launched, but
it's been selling extremely well.
I think it still just had a dip, and
Hollow Knight is selling extremely well on Switch. In fact, it is now on sale, I believe, for like $9 or $9 something.
Yeah.
Wow, like $9.80. So it's like, the perfect
Smart
time to get this. If you have not picked up Hollow Knight, even you don't need to play through all of it. I'm of the opinion that's a little bit on the longer side. I think even if you don't finish it, playing it for at least even like 5 hours, I think you get your money's worth out of that game.
I think one of the big things that I like about the Switch now, how they're handling ports as opposed to the Wii U. Whenever I think about the Wii U ports, I think about Batman. I think about the Arkham City weird version that we got, and the way that they sold that is like, this is the best ever. So they were like, even convincing people, if you've played this twice already, get ready to play it a third time because of motion controls or some weird menu that you're like, what? Like, it seemed disingenuous. It seemed like really desperate, that they're like, no, play this again. No, this is like better than ever. And I like that with Doom, they at least are not saying it or hinting at the attitude of like, we know this is the worst performing version of this game. We know you're not going to get Saints Row the Third on this because finally it's like the HDest version of this game. It's like, no, it's just there. It just exists on the platform. Take it or leave it. That's all we're going to say. That's all the info we're going to put out there. And then it's up to you to make
I think it's just being able to play it on the go is like, that's good enough.
And they're just really honest about that. And I think it's reflecting well across just the consumer base.
Yeah,
they seem more trustworthy.
That's a good point, because like the Wii U hadn't proven itself when those games were announced.
Right.
Wii U ultimately didn't sell that well. I think there are a lot of factors of why, because like Batman Arkham City is a really great game, and that was Mass Effect 3 and Batman Arkham City, correct? That came to Wii U because Arkham Knight.
It was Arkham City.
Yeah, City. I think the problem was, dude, there was a lot of problems with that. Whereas like now, because you could argue, oh, that's a perfect game. People want to play on Switch. Like, but Arkham Asylum or just like an Arkham Collection on Switch or something, that would definitely sell right now for sure. I think they're just in two different situations, two different places, and Switch is just in a much better place. And people want. They want more games. They're buying up all these games that come out on it. You both made great points. Specifically, we said time and time again, the mobile, the portability of it just works. And we could sit here for a long time listing games that like would work on it. But the point is, I think you're going to see more of this, and from both. I think you will see developers trying to push a little bit of the boundaries. Doom coming to Switch. It wasn't the most technically advanced port of it, and same with Wolfenstein 2. It's just they're trying. They got to start someplace.
Like, and just being able to play Doom on Switch is cool. Like, just on the
go.
If
you want a little taste of Doom, it doesn't have to be the most delicious taste.
Right.
As long as, just a little Doom.
Just a little, that's all I need. It's a little piece.
It reminds me of, on Twitter, when somebody will message like a brand or a school or something like that, or some company, and they're like, "Hey, I want this to happen. How many retweets?" And the company will actually say, "Okay, 50K, make it happen." You're like, "All right." And that person will. I almost never fall for that bait whenever I see it online, but I wonder if like almost every company in this business has that line, where like they saw the Switch sales and they were like, okay, this game, if that breaks this, then we'll release this other game. And we're starting to see that happen. We're starting to see, okay, well then let's try this, and then however that sells.
Very good point.
That's what made when I saw Castle Storm pop up, I was like, Castle Storm, whoa, what happened? And then when I booted it up, I was playing the first couple levels. I thought, you know what? I wonder if a sequel's on the way. I wonder if they're like, we're that close to maybe funding it or seeing what consoles this will work on. Let's try it on Switch. And if Switch sells more than we ever sold on PS3 and 360, I don't know if it was on PS3. I played it on 360. Then maybe we'll just skip the Xbox altogether and just do Switch. So
Jones, great point.
Windjammers, like we're getting a 2
the sales
now.
are spoken.
I did not see Windjammers 2
the
coming at all.
Companies need to see the demand. They need to see the receipts basically before they jump. And Switch has shown the receipts. These games have, you said, sell better than previous version. Sell better than all the versions of previous release. When you're seeing numbers like that, it's kind of hard to ignore that. I think that's why you might even start seeing some games be only on Switch and maybe PC rather than other stuff. Like Windjammers 2.
Crazy.
Yeah. Good stuff there. But I think it's time to move on to our second question here. So our second question comes from Eric. And Eric says, I've never played a Diablo game, but the Switch version intrigues me.
Yeah.
I have a newborn, and the Switch has pretty much become my only gaming machine because of the convenience and ability to play handheld. I'm pretty sure I will have a very strong association of fatherhood when I look back at my time with Octopath Traveler. I tried to play Doom on Switch, though, and I couldn't do it. Looked too rough. I might try and play it on PS4 later, but I cannot handle the downgrade of visuals on Switch.
Fair.
So, question, how do you think Diablo 3 will hold up, especially in handheld mode? Thanks, love and respect. And before you answer that, just again, one of the few announcements, Nintendo did announce, in collaboration with Blizzard, that Diablo 3 would be coming to Switch. I'm also on board with this. I have not touched a Diablo game. So I'm very curious about the panel's thoughts on this game coming to Switch.
I think it'll be one of the worst versions of the game, performance-wise, but it's just the handheld. Like, that's really cool that you could do that. Like, it's going to look like the PS3, Xbox 360 version, if that.
Okay.
But I'm saying, the advantage is being able to take it with you on the go.
All right. My question is, from all the trailers I've seen this game, it doesn't look in general, doesn't look very visually taxing. So
yeah, that's Blizzard, usually. All their games are like that.
From my experience, the only thing I could assume is that there's so many effects going on.
Enemies on screen, if you're playing with three other people.
Slow down from that. Yeah, or latency.
Yeah.
But talk about a game you can just play for any amount of time.
Diablo for a long time.
Just keep stacking 5 minutes on increments onto your play session.
It has all the DLC, I think, on it, too.
Yeah, I think it comes with everything. It's got the Zelda item. You can put Ganondorf armors in there. And there's another thought that came into my head, but it's also part of our third question. I think I'm just going to roll these two because they're both about Diablo 3. So the one thing I think there's some concern about, which also DRD 7 of 14 ask about, is their biggest issue with Diablo 3 has always been local multiplayer. While it's fun, as soon as players need to go through their loot, it becomes a real pain. Only one player can manage their inventory at a time, and the other 3 players are forced to do nothing because the menu takes over the whole screen. I couldn't finish the game with my brother since we were consistently having to spend 10 to 15 minutes per each player going over stuff, leaving 30 to 45 minutes waiting for the other to go through loot, weapons, armor. It was a real mess, and they never fixed. I can't imagine the Switch version is going to be the version to fix this huge flaw, but I'd love to see them try. So
that's a good point.
Talk about multiplayer in this game. Do you think it's going to work well?
Specifically,
and local multiplayer with a Switch or multiple Switches, like
screen,
yeah,
so you don't
it's really cool. So hopefully it's like PC, because PC you can just kind of do whatever you wanted. At the time, like when you're playing, you have your own screen, obviously, so you can look at your menu and people could be doing whatever. So hopefully Switch does that if you're playing on separate things.
It's funny, like there are games where I myself try to keep it in focus. Like I know it's like, here's a game where it's like, man, I'm probably not going to play it, but I really, really should. Mass Effect, it's like, I never played that.
Sure.
But it's so nobody's been like harassing me about Mass Effect. That's just always my own brain that tries to categorize that. That's a franchise I should really spend some time with in the future. Then there's other games where like they just keep coming back to me. And like Diablo 3 has knocked on my door like 500 times. Like, and I've played it before. I played it on PC and I played it on PS4. And so like I just dabbled in it, but I could see the deep end. Like, oh no, what if I like really, really, really commit to this? And I just think of how many times a friend picked it up and like messaged me, hey, Diablo 3's pretty good. Are you playing this? I'm like, nah, I did for a bit, but I'm not. Ian, I remember, just got like crazy into it. Necromancer was like the new class that they had so many different coming out on other systems. And like, this might be the final straw. Like now it's on Switch. Now it's portable. It's right there. You can be watching a movie and cutting the podcast and playing a game all at the same time. Just do it, Jones. We'll see.
I'm really curious to maybe try this out finally, but this will be the thing that also gets me to jump into Diablo. Sadly, besides keeping up with the footage and announcements with the Diablo series, this I can say is back in the day, Diablo 2 and Ocarina of Time used to like vie for like game of forever. Back in the old game FAQs, like game of the year, or the little bracket tournament they used to do every year. It would always be Diablo 2 and Ocarina of Time vying for the top spot every single time. It was like clockwork. So I was informed about video games is that Ocarina of Time is really good, but this Diablo 2 game, it's like this other big game, this big PC game.
Also, not to read too much into it, but we were talking about anytime we see something come on Switch, is that indicative of something else that's happening somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Windjammers to Windjammers 2. This last kind of hurrah for Diablo 3 is this. Is this Blizzard prepping the Nintendo audience for this franchise in general?
Massive theory. It's like taking clues. They argue there have been clues dropped over the last few announcements from Blizzard. They all contain a nugget. And when you piece them together, it's all pointing towards Diablo 4 at BlizzCon. Wow. They're just there's this faction of Blizzard fans just convinced it is happening.
If it's not there, people are going to be pissed.
They will riot. Get it?
Yeah.
Hey, let's move on.
They will riot laughter from Debian.
All right. Whoops. I didn't do that right. Sorry, one sec. This new system here. Actually, I did do it right. I'm just not used to it. Next question, though, comes from Megan.
Major momentum drop there. Could you feel it?
I know. Botch. Can we cut that? Can we turn off? Fourth question from Megan. Hello, panel. Much to everyone's surprise, Windjammers 2 was announced for the Switch. I've never thought I see this in a million years. What do you guys think about this news? How did this even happen? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this fresh to death announcement. That's the wording.
Fresh to death.
And yes, as we mentioned, Windjammers 2 recently announced. And what do you think about this?
Sweet. It's great.
I think this game, maybe it defines is too strong of a word, but this is a game for the streaming era, man. This is a game you don't necessarily even need to play. It's just, you can just enjoy really watching your favorite channels play. It's like Overcooked, It's just it's frantic. It's so frantic that it's really entertaining. It's easy to pick up and play, hard to master. And I think it's something that anyone can really just get their fingers on and understand. But it's so chaotic, and there is depth to it. But I think it's just such an easy thing. If you were a streamer solo, or if you were a streamer like us with lots of different people that can play games, it's just a no-brainer. And like it's exciting to see games, not to like jump on a completely different tangent, but like Dark Pictures Anthology that like are clearly made for an online audience to appreciate, are clearly just like short and digestible and
oh yeah.
So it's not a surprise to me that Windjammers has found success and that is going to get to a sequel 40 years later, but makes me wonder like what other gems are still out there, what other crazy online Power Stone-y type of games are still just waiting to have that resurgence.
You already said it. It's Power Stone.
Yeah, man.
It's Power Stone.
Dude, Power Stone 3
Let's
exclusively
go,
on
dude.
Switch, you know?
Oh, man.
Wow.
I think that'd be huge.
Yeah,
I think that'd be
awesome.
massive. It's just a question of if you have enough people that work in a company that has the money to do it and they're willing to invest the time. But I just think something that is so over the top and crazy and not presenting itself in a real serious tone, or something that I think something like a Dead Cells or like these or Salt and Sanctuary is now on Switch. Like these games do well, but at the same time, the level of challenge I think might be turning people off. Whereas in Windjammers, like if you lose, it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still just a crazy game. You're gonna get one goal in there that's gonna feel great.
Feels good.
And
playing
just the right type of zany
on our group stream that night, like just against everyone, especially Huber, just absolute like fun and pandemonium. I think that's what people like about that game so much when they finally try it. I will concede, because this is an interesting crossover with the Easy Allies podcast. We go up after it's already available for the public. So anyone who's listened to Easy Allies podcast already know that we did rank to significance for the new announcements, and we placed Windjammers 2 in there, and we placed it above some other games, namely Desperados coming back, and the new Settlers game. And I already saw some feedback that there were some people over in Europe who were like, this is an instance of where you are and stuff, because over here you'd see like Europeans putting them way higher than Windjammers would be at the bottom. And I brought this up because I'd like to just say, with my own personal experience with Windjammers, is that I didn't really say it on the podcast, but here I only know about that game's existence because listening to the Giant Bomb cast and those guys just going nuts over that game.
Yeah, of course.
And like they never really described it. They just described how awesome it was.
I saw Windjammers 2 from Dave Lang. I literally, that's how I found it on Twitter, is Dave Lang retweeted and was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, yeah.
Like, I mean, everyone's gonna want to see like what they play, but like I just in my head, them talking about it, I didn't know it was some frisbee tossing game. I thought it was like Windjammers, some like cool like shoot 'em up or something, and they were like, this must be some weird crazy Japanese only game that like, and then we played it, I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought, but just wanted to say I understand. Like I think it is.
I think Desperados to me is actually maybe a little bit more significant than Settlers. The thing about Settlers to me, just from an outside perspective, looking at how they sold it at Gamescom, when they show up and they're like, here's Settlers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now announcing 7, I don't get the vibe that it's like, oh, they're making another one? It seems like they've got a pretty good track record of this. It's kind of like The Sims or something. It's like one of those franchises where like it's probably coming back. It's probably going to find its audience. It's going to know, kind of like racing games like F1 or something, like these smaller games that are not necessarily annual but do come back, know their audience, know how much they should spend on a game, how much they're probably going to make in a given year, how big their audience is. Whereas Windjammers is just like, what? Like, wow, I didn't know that this weird game would get a sequel. What is it going to be? Are they going to fall back? Are they going to rest on their laurels and just kind of deliver the same experience? Or are they like, okay, now that we can actually spend a little more money on this, let's go nuts. Let's throw in some really crazy modes, twice as many characters. So I think that's why it's just so unusual. And just the vibe. I mean, a guy doing like Dragon Ball and throwing it's hard not to crack up at that, and for that not to be a spectacle at a show like this. So I think that might die down over time, and maybe people invest more time socially talking about Settlers. It'd be nice, if that game in this era of so many people trying out new franchises, it'd be nice if this is the biggest selling Settlers. You want to see that happen, sure.
I think I'd be really disappointed if Windjammers 2 just isn't like a natural evolution of Windjammers 1. I'm not expecting some giant leap in graphics. I want it to be like slightly like it needs to be in the same visual aesthetic. Like it needs to look like
Yeah,
if just like
absolutely.
maybe if it was sequel was made like a year or two after it would be awesome. And yeah, everything you said, Joe, like maybe some new modes, some challenge stuff in there, but the essence of it is still the same. When you said bigger budget, let's like I thought we were gonna say let's make it more like visually appealing and like I like please just no, don't do that.
But more characters.
Oh yeah, more characters would be great.
Give me really
more
weird
courses,
characters.
more moves, like more cool modes, but like don't mess with it. That like don't go in a different direction. Like don't do that. That's like the worst thing you could do for Windjammers. It would be like disastrous if you did that. Like our fear earlier, we're talking about like sequels, like Final Fantasy VI sequel. That's exactly in my mind what they would do. Oh, we're gonna make the visuals way different, and we're gonna like do it. No, don't do that.
All the faces will be curvy. Like,
No. Let's move on to the next question. So our next question comes from Zaladin13. Hi, panel. With the announcement of the new InkyPen app exclusive for Switch, do you see this opening the gate for more traditional tablet functionality? E-reader, exclusively touchscreen tablet games, notepads, sketchbooks, alarms, etc. Love you guys. EZA is like a family away from home during the long 12-hour shifts at the paper mill.
Nice.
Very nice. Thank you. And if you don't know...
Feels good to fill that role in your life.
Oh, yes. Thank you. InkyPen is a comic book app. So it lets you look. It's like a tablet e-reader, like comic book e-reader, essentially. You can like it's like the pages, zoom in, all the stuff you think about, like comicsology, whatever it's called. I think is like a sort of similar one. Didn't do too much research into. I watched the video announcement. I was like, oh, I get it. Didn't look too much into the app itself, like what extra features it has. But that's a good question. Basically, yeah, Nintendo released a short video about this. So, do you expect Nintendo to try and go with some of these more unique tablet functionality applications? And as I said, I'm just going to say that's great, but I'm still always going to ask, where's Netflix? But that's my joke.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Was it 2006 the DS came out?
DS?
Yeah.
No, Nintendo DS came out in 2004.
2004?
Oh, sorry. 2004 or 5. PSP was like right around that time, too.
But like
2005 was Mario Kart
DS comes out,
online.
and they give me a Nintendo screen with a stylus, and I'm like, oh, Mario Paint. Here we go.
Yeah.
They're bringing back Mario Paint. I can't wait. And then like, nope. Like 3DS, I was like, oh, all right, okay. Yeah. 3DS is also selling a lot. People are really buying into the system. Here we go, Mario Paint. Doesn't happen. Wii U comes out. We get like our little tablet with I'm like, this is so perfect. Here we go, Mario Paint. Bring it back. Give me a music editor and let me.
They didn't.
Nope.
They didn't. What?
So
they gave you the drawing application stuff on there. Like
close that door.
They even brought like Flipnote Studio.
Mario Paint on Switch.
Like they had Flipnote Studio for a while, and then they like ditched that ultimately. And then real quick, I did a fact check for us to make sure because we're a Nintendo podcast, we can't get this wrong. The Nintendo DS did release in North America on November 21st, 2004. I was like, it's 2004 because Online and Mario Kart DS came out a year later in fall of 2005, and everyone that's when I feel like it took off. Because
I remember playing in high school.
And Animal Crossing. That was the first Animal Crossing game I touched. Was that one actually?
As far as Nintendo support with this, I think they're experimenting right now. They're dipping their toes in to see how it goes, and I think depending how it goes, they'll either go in more or they'll just leave.
Yeah, I do think, Brad, that I think they're looking for more interesting hooks than just what you can find anywhere else.
That's Nintendo. They always do that.
I think that's what they're looking for, and that's something that you can't get on like the same experience on a PS4 or Xbox One is being able to read the comics on your Switch handheld mode, swiping and like looking at it like that. You can turn it vertically, probably do all that. Earlier, Jones, we confirmed that DS did come out in 2004.
Oh, excellent.
And that Animal Crossing DS the year later with Online was my first Animal Crossing. It's
a good one.
Good one. Very good one to start on. Yeah, you're right, Brad. I think you'll see more of this stuff. Just always, I know I bring it up all the time. Just Netflix one day. Just one day. Be nice.
I'm really surprised that's not on there.
Just one day.
But at the same time, I'm not.
Yeah. So, maybe. We'll see. Thank you for that. Let's move on to our next question, which comes from Straw Hat Ninja.
Ooh.
Greetings, allies. Fire Emblem 3 Houses is scheduled for a spring 2019 release, and we don't know hardly anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we will get a direct for it at some point, but what things would you like to see that would get you really excited? Just real quick, we now know the PAX West lineup and the panel schedule for PAX West. No Fire Emblem. So that we've gone with Gamescom, we've gone with this. Nintendo does not go to Tokyo Game Show. They were having a presence there in a first official capacity, but they're not showing off their own games. It's more for third party relations at Tokyo Game Show this year. Sorry,
right.
But beyond that, it's like Paris Games Week and then maybe a Direct at some point. But yeah, none of that. I will admit, it's a bit concerning that we're this far and we don't have any more details.
I mean, spring though?
Yeah,
spring.
I mean, they got till like May.
Time.
Maybe. I mean, it's Nintendo. They do like to show stuff off, but like I do have like a tiny bit, like I'd say like about like 15 to 20% concern that it's not going to hit that window right now is where I'm at. But yeah, before I share my thoughts, like yeah, what would you like to hear or see about this or actually get you excited if you're not ready?
They already did it. They put it on a home console that I could play. I didn't want to play on a DS.
Ooh, okay. That's a good start.
Because I don't know anything about these games.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
never really played one of these before.
Me neither. My comments on this are,
Ooh.
probably
All right.
next to nil as far as the worth is concerned to our audience.
Man, I really hope this is a good one then.
So I don't know. Yeah, what's holding us back, Brad? What would it take? I guess
I'm telling you, man, it was it being on handheld.
Yeah. And like it'd be really interesting if that became, because I'm certain Smash Brothers is going to take us over when that Pokemon game comes out. Not Let's Go, but the 2019 one. I'm sure that's one that is going to sweep up a lot of us. If there was just kind of some big multi-ally effort to get really involved in that Fire Emblem.
Its timing too is when it comes out.
Of course,
it has to be a convenient time for
I'm
all
hoping
of us.
it's not that huge like Q1. Like I do hope it comes out between January and March because all those big games that everyone has like a list of people reviewing for it. Easy Allies. It's like, well, let's drop that Fire Emblem in there, and then it's one I can put my name by right there. Thank you very much. It was like I like to get one of those. But yeah, I guess before I give any of my thoughts, I'm kind of curious. I mean, Brad, you kind of said that you really haven't jumped into the series.
I've played a little bit of the GameCube one.
Okay,
just a little bit.
What about you, Jones? Has there been any like specific reason why you haven't really got into it, or?
It's just kind of a tactics thing. If there's a tactics series that doesn't necessarily, that is unique to itself. Like there are games that have copied the Fire Emblem model, and I'm sure they weren't the first to do that. I do not, don't quote me on that because I haven't done my Fire Emblem history. But I think Fire Emblem is its own type of tactics game, and it just seems like something that it would take me a while to get good at. I'm not hungry for role-playing experiences or big dramatic multi-hour storylines. That's why I gravitate something more like to something more like Octopath, that I'm familiar with this format. It takes me much less time to get familiar with the battle system, whereas in this, like, it's just like, oh yeah, that's right. Bows beat, staffs beat, okay, right. Like I would just be very bad at going into it, and I wouldn't necessarily want it, to have some kind of really over elaborate tutorial system that would piss off long-standing fans. Are like, I don't need this, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want it to have to dumb down its experience for a player like me to then get accustomed to it. But what I did like about this was, as someone who hasn't played a lot of Fire Emblem, when we were talking at E3 about what all the new modes and functionality that they were adding, looked like there was a lot more seamless transitions between things, and just the style I think was very surprising for some, and so that excites me. So I think just stay the course. Like at some point, same with Yakuza. Like, sorry Yakuza that I have not put enough time into it as I probably should have, but you're not doing anything wrong. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's my bad. It's my fault.
There's only so many games.
And one of these days, I will. You'll break me, and I'll jump in.
I feel like for those people who might not have not gotten into Fire Emblem yet, and one of the things I think that Heroes doesn't do the best job of, the mobile game. Fire Emblem Heroes gets you used to the very core essence of Fire Emblem. It's a grid tactics game. You move around. It does teach you the basics, but I've always preached that if you want more, this is just scratching the surface of what Fire Emblem offers. You're missing out on a lot here. And you mentioned the story, and I will say that the story is a big time investment. These games are big time investments. They're very long games, but the story is usually, from the ones I like, the GameCube and the Wii one, my two favorite ones, they're actually two parts of a whole game, is it's told like novel style, essentially. It's like a long, drawn-out novel. You get all these character perspectives. You have very lengthy conversations between...
I get a strong sense of permanence. Characters die, they're dead. People can have children. You then play as them in the game and moving forward.
it just I think
so that kind of investment's attractive.
Yeah, I think they complement each other very well. Like the tactic style fights, they can last a very long time. But as you said, Jones, you were worried about like maybe like tutorials, stuff like that. Most of the games have optional tutorials. Like if you know like the basics, like I know how to play Fire Emblem, skip me over this. But I don't think it's too complicated to learn the basics. There's a triangle system about like there's sword users, axe users, and lance users at their essence, and it's basically SAL, sword beats axe, axe beats lance.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, it's rock paper scissors.
Okay, cool.
But there's like you said, bow and arrow. Where's bow and arrow fit? But like bow and arrow is like, oh, they're ranged. Like you're just in range, you'll take damage. But flying stuff, oh, you're flying, you get shot.
But range.
But as you play the game, I think no matter what, this is a game you just have to jump in there and start playing and be okay with losing, because I think that's one of the reasons it's so addictive. Is you'll like think you've thought everything, and then that one thing, that one enemy you weren't paying attention on. I would really recommend, until you're very familiar and like maybe in a second playthrough, or you played a few games, don't turn on all the crazy options like see the range of this. Like you can if you want, you process it, but I think just having the basic information fed to you and then learning, oh, I'm going to advance, I can go this far on my turn, and it's like woo, you just get like just obliterated by all this stuff. It's like it's teaching you learn it, and it's fun. I think it's fun to learn.
I think it's another reason why I haven't played as many RTS games as I probably wanted to or been curious about in the past, is that I just get emotionally destroyed by games. So they're like, you failed 30 minutes ago, you just don't know it yet. And you're like, and like you finally see, the difficulty coming at you, and you realize like, oh, okay. I should have known that was coming to kind of, get my troops over there, build up momentum so that I could deal with that challenge. And it's when it's too late, you're like, oh god.
So that is
I gotta go back an hour now to like redo that part. But
good counterpoint, Jones. That is one of the things I think that you can tell if this game might not be for you, is if you do not have the time investment. Even one chapter, one mission, even if you skip the story and just go to the mission, you might get 30 minutes into the fight and think you're near the end, and you screw up something and it's game over. And there aren't some of them, the newer ones have offered like you can save in the middle of the fight and come back to it.
Oh, okay.
They really don't want you to do that though. The core essence is you fail, you're going back to the start of that fight. And that could be a multi-hour prospect if you fail like 2 or 3 times, like while trying to learn it. So I understand not everyone has time for these games, but if you do, but they can be played one chapter at a time. I feel like you don't have to sit down and I need 8 or 10 hours. If you have like 2 or 3 hours, you could probably take on one chapter, one mission at a time, and they're long. They will last you a long time, so they're pretty good, you know. And value investments.
Played the Valkyria demo, got excited about that. So
same thing.
Maybe tactics games like this. Maybe I'm gonna start dabbling in a little bit more. That'd be fun.
Yeah, Valkyria, same thing. I think they try and like they do the action spin on it to make it a little bit more like moment to moment, more entertaining, and a little bit of a rush to put on top of the more methodical, strategic edge of their old fashioned tactics grid based games. But
I'm a little just naturally. Starting from scratch, I'm a little more attracted to the fantasy aesthetic of Fire Emblem more than the World War I aesthetic of something like Valkyria.
Jones, my dream. I don't know if you remember my
Smash
dream.
Brothers. Love all the Fire Emblem characters. Don't know who any of them are, but I just love
they just look cool.
Love their style. Love their moves.
I like
and stuff.
that, Jones. That's great. My dream, Jones, is to have a Fire Emblem game made in the Valkyria engine, play like Valkyria Chronicles.
Oh, okay.
One day, I just want that.
Oh, sure.
But like that applies to the question. Like that would be my dream. I'd love to see that, but I don't think we're gonna get that. So I would settle for this upcoming Fire Emblem 3 Houses to be more cut from the same cloth of the GameCube and Wii One, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. I'd love to see more of those elements brought in again, and most specifically, I just want to see the environment, the landscape matter more into the battle dynamics, like being height advantages, terrain, just like rolling rock down a hill, like will knock out a line of enemies and stuff like that. Or there's water, I can't, and it's like a different level, so it's like, you have like a bridge that's down here that can go across, or I can go across this. There's just so many things to consider, and it's great. Love it.
This seems also like a really good opportunity to let our viewers know at home that if you don't want to hear yard work being done during our podcasts, go to patreon.com/easyallies. Help us stay above that 50K goal. And no yard work done by the studio. That is one of our qualifiers.
Brand manager.
That we're talking about
there,
our
on
commercial
top
real
of
estate
that.
agent. Yeah, if the leaf blower could not happen while we're shooting a podcast, it'd be really great. But you're just putting on a good show, Damiani, and I don't want
it's
blades
okay.
of grass to get in the way between
That
your
was,
and Nintendo
that was a
news.
smooth transition, Brandon.
Smooth transition. That means let's move on to our next question, and it comes from Tyler. Hey, allies, what do you think Nintendo should do with Mario Kart in the future? Do you think
whatever they're doing now? Oh
do you think they should release Mario Kart 9 on the Switch when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is already the second best-selling game on the system?
Dude, don't eat it.
Deluxe was recently updated for Labo controls, and they said more updates were coming, but whatever that means, whether it's more tracks or characters, is uncertain. So, do you think Nintendo adds to Deluxe, makes 9, or neither? Also, where do you think Mario Kart goes in the next game when it eventually happens? 8 introduced anti-gravity, so what wrinkle do you think they added to the gameplay? What wrinkle do you think they should add to the gameplay in the next iteration? And do you expect more non-Mario Nintendo characters to be part of the roster? Thank you for your guys' hard work, love and respect.
No rubber banding. That's what I want.
Ooh,
That's
the
what I
dreaded
want the
rubber
most.
banding.
I want
kind of
so
like how
like
Smash is selling the turn this on and off modes
Yeah,
a lot.
like,
You can just turn off
if you're
rubber
a
banding.
good driver and you're great with items, I think you should be rewarded instead of necessarily some dude just rubber banding behind you all the time. Like, I'm not a fan of them just giving people stars all the time in the back because it punishes the people who play well. Like, they want everyone to have fun and be competitive like that, but like,
So this is
come
for,
on,
like,
man.
It should just be a different mode.
This is for multiplayer as well,
like,
not just like single
like
player.
turning,
Yes.
off, like turning off items. in
Yeah, you should be
Smash,
able to do
just, like-
stuff like that, like have different settings if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, also I think there'll be more characters outside of your typical Mario
Okay.
characters. I mean, we saw that with Link already.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be
Animal
surprised
Crossing
if
characters,
Samus showed
yeah.
up in it or something like that.
I would kind of love to get back to Double Dash. I think they
yeah.
were really
Ooh,
onto
Double
something
Kart.
special there.
two
Just
kart
the idea
racers?
of having like a supplement character that you can also add that maybe adds another ability that they just inherently have. You know, so if you, even if you choose Mario, you can have like Samus on the side and she can morph ball or do something like just like one extra ability that I get. It'd also be interesting. One of the things I was surprised that Bossman was so excited about with Smash that they just announced was you're no longer hunting after the Smash ball, that you can set it to a mode where you're building up a meter.
Yeah.
So you have more people throwing Smashes out. And it'd be interesting if you had some inherent abilities to characters or to vehicles that I don't have to get to a question mark. You know, I could just get it. I just get it after a certain while, or maybe, like you were saying, if you know, even if they don't, if the rubber banding is still there, or some of the item acquisition is still there, maybe when you get into first, second, or third, you get a new ability to like block stuff, or just some kind of defense against the blue shell or something.
Yeah, they got like one thing. They got the AOE kind of horn thing.
Oh yeah, the horn thing can just
which is cool.
Yeah, they added
I
that.
love that.
I think I think one thing that could be cool is I lost my train of thought on what Jones was going to say, so I'm just going to go on to like what are my ideas. I had a really good point I want to make about that. I do want to say I think since Mario Kart 8 is selling so well, I think it's going to be a while before you see Mario Kart 9.
I don't think Switch needs another Mario Kart at all.
Yeah,
period.
Yeah. I think
maybe a cross-platform. So when the next console gets launched and they want to make that divide, put it on Switch as well.
I think next 2-3 years we'll probably start hearing about a new Mario Kart, but I think it's gonna be years. It's not gonna be like within next year. I do think, as they pointed out, there will be updates. We saw the Labo controls.
Smart.
We got the free Breath of the Wild update with Link and the alternate outfit in the Master
The bike,
Cycle
right?
thrown in there. I think you'll just see more of that trickle in over time. But eventually, when we get to the new one, your discussion about like outside characters made me think, you know, what if this ever became like, you know, Sonic All-Stars Racing was originally, like, you know, Sega characters before it went back to being like Sonic Team Racing. It's like, what if Mario Kart became like Nintendo Kart?
Yeah.
Like the Smash Brothers of
Yeah,
Mario
more
Kart.
You know how
Smash,
Bossman
yeah.
feels about that.
Yeah, I wonder, like, would that upset like pure Mario fans because they have such a large roster of like Mario specific characters? If fans want to get so upset about it, you could have like, oh, the cool looking Fire Emblem character in there. Now you got a Fire Emblem stage, you know, the Castle Siege stage, or you know, you get the Samus card in there, and you're going through like, you know,
Animal
Metroid.
Crossing. It's a
Animal
course
Crossing's
now in
there.
8.
Yeah, we've seen hints of that, and it works. It's fun. We got the F-Zero in there, so
Where's Captain Falcon?
I don't think it's that far fetched. Even if it doesn't become Nintendo Kart, I think the next Mario Kart will have more outside of Mario characters.
Sure.
In terms of what they can do style-wise, I think maybe they should try tackling the Diddy Kong Racing / Crash Team Racing, like adventure, because we don't know what's up with that Star Fox racing game. If that's even true, if that rumors are coming to fruition, if it's not, maybe this is what it becomes. Maybe Mario Kart to do something even bigger than what's done before. I still don't know what else racing wise they can do that's going to make it that
hovercrafts
like,
and planes. They
just
copied
and
planes,
adventure mode, boss battles, but this also harkens back to Mario Kart DS. To give a specific example, I want that challenge mode stuff back. Collecting the coins on those like obstacle stuff. They did have boss encounters, stuff like that. Like, just bring that back at least. I'd love to see that come back.
And the strictly versus modes. I mean, the game is versus, but like just sky's the limit, man. Go crazy with those things. Capture the flag, like any sort of deathmatch options with balloons. I think that's
Oh,
you can think of all sorts of nutty stuff.
Achievements, Damiani.
Battle Royale.
Why isn't that there?
Why aren't achievements in there?
Oh my god!
Wow! Brad would love that.
Whoa!
Would love
also,
that.
ever since we finally found out what the Smash Brothers Ultimate was going to be, just putting that Ultimate moniker on there has me thinking all sorts of crazy ideas for like Mario Party and Mario Kart and a lot of their like big multiplayer tentpole games. It'd be interested to always depending on how it sells, to have an entry in their series that does have that kind of catch-all vibe, where they're like, we're not just going to make a new gimmick for Mario Kart 9. Mario Kart 9 is going to be a celebration of the history of Mario Kart. So all the courses is going to be there, all the characters. Yeah. If you want to maybe even add a double dash functionality, you can, or you can say, screw it, and I just want to bring my own cart, and maybe that has its own, perks or pluses or minuses. But something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say, Jones. You're thinking of like cool like extra things, like you're talking about like the Smash Ball going away. To reward players in Mario Kart, I think that they have the drift mechanic, which you power up the boost essentially.
Yeah.
I think if you do that should slowly charge up a meter, and then when it builds up, you can just initiate like basically like with the gold mushroom, like a long burst, like it's just like F-Zero style. Like we hit that turbo button, you just go like fast for a while and it just like drains your meter or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be like pretty cool to like reward you because you get hit by something, you burn that. See you later, or you just
Or once it hits 100%, that opens an ability that spends the whole thing at once, and you can maybe
like you have they can open up the super moves essentially. Yeah, like here comes a barrage of blue shell and like a star person's like, nope, here's my like reality stone. They all become harmless.
Like all these things sound like good ideas, but then when you think when they're in the hands of Damiani, all of a sudden it becomes a real bad idea. You're like, yes, as long as we can again turn that off.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our
Patreon.com/ECAllies 50K goals.
Yeah, 50K.
Just throwing that out there.
50K coming up soon. Make it happen. Next question, though.
Just think how many leaves are going to be gone when you walk back to the car, though. It's going to be so pristine out there.
It's going to be nice. Yeah,
it's going to be like night and day.
It's going to be very nice. Sam has a question for us. When do you think the eShop will stop? When will the eShop stop having a Switch tax for new indie games? Iconoclast just came out on Switch and cost £17.99 pounds. Less than a week later, I found it on PlayStation Network for £7.99 pounds. And this includes trophies, a PS3, and PS Vita copy. I would have bought it on Switch if it launched the same day as PS4, though, but it didn't. I find myself just waiting until the Switch version comes out and then buying it on another platform, and it's a shame. So I know they spoke specifically about indies, but this goes beyond indies. Like Nintendo prices their games where they want. Another one like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze got a lot of flack about that. So like it said, like the Switch, this is the Nintendo tax. So when do you think Nintendo will ever stop doing the Nintendo tax?
My guess is never.
Yeah, when they stop selling.
Yeah, sorry. But case in point, this game that I wanted to buy without spoiling the countdown, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get that on Switch. And I went to go check it out, $59.99. I was like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
For this game.
I think that's the simplest answer. Yeah. Honestly, this isn't going to stop happening until people stop buying it at these prices and force them to change.
Why would they?
But yeah, all their information shows we'll buy it at this price.
Yeah.
I do think certain situations are different from others. and they're not the only ones to do this. Square Enix is also notorious for the Square Enix tax,
tax,
which is even like worse than Nintendo.
The Square Enix mobile tax is out of control.
You would get like back on DS and Game Boy Advance, like the standard price for a new like Game Boy Advance DS game is like $29.99 or $34.99. Add a minimum of $5 to $10 on top of that for the Square Enix games.
Yeah, weren't
that
some of their
came out.
games like $50 on DS?
It was just ridiculous, and they were like, so I mean, some companies know they will pay it, but there's something I'll get to at the end of this that kind of sheds a light on why this is done this way and why maybe they shouldn't change their ways doing this, and we'll save it for then. But I will say that in certain situations, I think it's not as offensive. I went to bat for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze because I think it's a great game. It deserved to sell and reward Nintendo as a feedback to tell them keep making games like this. Unfortunately, not a lot of people bought a Wii U, which meant not a lot of people could buy Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze to support it even if they wanted to. So by putting it back on the Switch at full price, I think basically it's like Nintendo's like, we didn't get what we should have made on this. Like if Wii U had sold even decently, I don't think you would have had that situation. I think it might have been discounted. But this is basically people are voting with their dollars here saying, hey, that was a good game. We missed out on it. I'm going to pay the full price for this because it's still a great game. And hey, Nintendo, keep making more games like that. I know there are people who come at me and be like, it doesn't matter. It's an old, like a 4 or 5 year old game. It should not have been full price. You know what? On some level, sure. It should have been $49.99 or $39.99. Right. But the fact is, it deserved to sell well because it not selling well could inadvertently be taken as this game. We shouldn't make more games like this, or you know, lump it in with the Wii U failure. Thankfully, Nintendo's smart enough and didn't come to that conclusion like some people might have. But yeah,
I mean, I remember Twilight Princess was $60 like forever, like 5 years after that game came out, still $60.
Even like it was basically how Nintendo works. It's like their Player's Choice games come out, their versions of that, and that's when their Nintendo Selects now, and they become discounted and stuff. Like they celebrated achieving a milestone, sold 1 million or 5 million, whatever it is.
Otherwise, they don't.
And now it's like, hey, it's we met our sales expectations. Great, now we're gonna reward you by discounting it.
What they
we'll get to
do though is there's the coins that you can earn on the eShop.
Yes.
We have their online service coming out, which will have question mark perks. Might learn the lesson from Xbox and Sony giving out free games and other functionality. So there might be just some kind of rewards for investing in that service right out of the gate. So I imagine that's kind of Nintendo trying to dull the edge, the sharpness of like when you see that price tag and just like, oh god,
Oh yeah.
I just think Nintendo's like, the people who sell burgers at E3. You're just like, man, $20 for a cheeseburger? I gotta buy it because I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I don't have time to go anywhere else to get this.
It's sort of that, but also I think, as I'll get into later, I think they believe in the value of their product.
They do.
Sure.
And it's part of it has to do with like, protecting that value.
As silly as that $59.99 was when I saw it, I almost did it. I almost made that jump, and thankfully backed out.
I did it.
You did it?
With Donkey Kong.
Oh, okay.
Donkey Kong,
I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll buy this again. It's a pleasure.
It's a good game. Definitely jump on it. Move on to our next question. We got 2 more. It's question 9 of 10. We got 10 questions total from our
I can maybe sneak that back door open.
Yeah, go ahead. Do that while we load this question real quick. Our next question comes from Jay. Jay asks, I would love to get the Friend Code panel's take on the concept of a Switch Pro release in 2019 using the NVIDIA Pascal Tegra X2 chipset. So this is a rumor that came up recently. I personally would love the platform to receive constant iterative updates. However, it is an understandably sensitive topic for many. How do you guys feel about it? Love and respect from Canada. And again, to clarify, there was a recent rumor that Switch Pro was going to be announced for next year. I think early next year was actually the rumor. And this came from the fact that Nintendo is freaking out behind the scenes because they are not going to hit their 20 million sales goal, Switch units goal. And with all the bouncing back and forth of the stocks, they're worried it's going to send investors into a frenzy and prove them right or something. And so because Switch is lagging behind, they need something to get those number up. So hence the Switch Pro will be released in early 2019 to solve all the problems. I have my thoughts on this, but yeah, basically, 1, do you think this is going to happen? And 2, what do you think about if Switch did iterative updates, like Pro versions? Like, how do you feel about that?
I'd be down. I'd buy it. Buy the hell out of that.
When would it be okay for that to come out for you? Like when would be?
When did
like,
the Switch come out? 2015.
Switch came out in 2017. March
2017. Okay, so 2019. Yeah, I could see
Makes
2020.
sense.
Yeah, especially when the
2
newer
years.
consoles are going to come out.
Totally gonna start talking about those really soon. Definitely before the end of the year. That conversation is gonna.
I mean,
pick up
everyone
big
else is
time.
doing it. Why wouldn't they?
So
They've done it before.
PlayStation 4
yeah,
Pro
they've
came out-
always done that. Yeah, like the new
handhelds with
3DS
everyone.
and stuff like that. They yeah.
The Pro was 3 years after.
Right.
It, and Xbox One X was
2016,
just
yeah.
about 3.5 years after.
Yeah.
So this would be 2 years if you did 2019.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's fine?
I mean,
It seems
I
a
don't
little-
see- I don't
seems a
see
little
an-
soon.
I don't
I'll
see a
say.
negative there because I think that will. The only negative is that the first thing that comes up is I'm not buying that. It's like, I don't need
Sure.
any kind of. There's no game I've played on Switch that I'm like I just need a little more performance here.
what?
It's like
you kidding
no,
me, dude? Breath of the Wild.
like
Crank
a
it, baby.
Little bit,
Crank
yeah,
it.
I guess.
Crank it.
Yeah, but at this point, am I really going to go back and play more?
I would go the hell back.
Go back, Jones.
I'll go back in a heartbeat.
Once you go back, it won't let you go.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bundled this with just kind of a wink nudge with Prime, that they're like,
Oh, sure.
Oh,
dude,
Prime
yes.
really want Prime to look the best it can. I would do the Pro thing for Prime 4.
I'd be like, okay.
But even then, like I'm sure it'll be fine on other systems. Like,
Yeah.
they're just
I mean, it's like,
yeah. I've never felt like I've been missing out on something where when they announce the Pro, when they have Xbox One, I don't have an Xbox One X. I do have the Pro, and so there are some Xbox One X situations like I bet it would look real
yeah,
good on that.
especially if you have 4K.
But with Switch, like just personally. But I just like in what we were saying, lowering prices for a lot of the stuff on the store, not bringing Netflix to it. It just seems like a lot of things that they're still making a lot of money on, not releasing Mario Kart 9 and just banking on 8 to still sell like as well as it has. There's a lot of things we want out of Nintendo, but I would not be surprised if they do it their own way because it's working out really well for them right now.
I just hope they don't. If they do it, they don't limit games to that only, like they did with Xenoblade.
Okay.
Yes.
Like you need to be able to play every Switch game.
And I think they might have learned that lesson.
I hope so.
I don't think they would
I
do
don't
something
know.
that drastic,
I will say, I think within 2
especially
years,
because Sony and Xbox haven't.
Yeah.
within 2 years is just way
Nothing
too
exclusive.
fast.
Oh, okay.
I think the best you could hope for is a form factor redesign, like a
Yeah.
Switch Lite.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which is not going to alter the performance aspects of the system. Maybe a redesigned dock or something, just something to clean it up a little bit. I just don't know how much smaller you can get the Switch, but the dock could definitely use some like touching
Yeah.
up and stuff like that.
I see a lot of sentiment on social media for a smaller Switch. They're like, that would be great if it performed as well, but was like
a little more,
little more
screen
3DS
smaller.
size.
Yeah, I mean, that could work too. Like just
something you could really put in your pocket.
just making it smaller, I think could like yeah.
easier
They
said than
did
done.
DS Lite, then yeah.
But like, yeah, good points there. But for an actual like iterative update with like that, I mean, it took like roughly 3 or 4 years for Nintendo 64 to do the expansion pack.
Yeah.
like that was required. DSi was the first one that could run like very few specific games only on DSi. It came out years after the original DS, and then you had new 3DS, a new 3DS XL, which was backwards compatible with everything, but it ran things better. Xenoblade Chronicles on 3DS. But that also came out way after. Like,
I think
it
it's
seems
just
soon, but
more.
there's-
It's more common now. I think
It's a new era.
Nintendo
Damiani.
takes about 3 to 4 years at least before they try out anything
anymore.
like that.
Yeah, they don't.
Not
It doesn't
anymore.
mean they have to continue
I
doing
don't think
that.
new
they- I don't think they. I don't think they
I
have
think
anything that shows them they need to do
When
that.
there's going to be rumblings of the newer consoles coming, they're going to do
rumblings?
something.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to hear about. Honestly, I don't think we're hearing about those until sometime next year.
Oh,
And
yeah, I mean-
think 2020 is the timetable to start hearing about this type of stuff. Like this new console's actually coming, and Nintendo trying to make a counter move. I could see, honestly, if this rumor had any validity to it, the best way to Nintendo to get to their target sales goal is do like a small price cut. That would work way better
Yeah,
than trying to
of
launch
course.
new like a new iterative hardware.
They always want to make money on their hardware, right?
Yeah,
though?
yeah. They want to make a profit. I think a redesigned Switch Lite, smaller Switch Compact, is probably what you'll get maybe next year at some point, maybe towards the end of next year. It's like, hey, we made our goal, but just barely. We are seeing a little bit of signs of slowdown, but like we need to speed it up. Here you go. Here's a redesign, which will probably buy them a year or two until
they
want
do
to
the
an
next
iterative.
version.
Yeah.
Sure.
You wait till 2020. You wait until the next PlayStation, the next
They need to
Xbox.
see.
I think it's a bad look. are not necessarily that attractive to be like, no, don't buy a PS5, buy a Switch, because this new version performs so well. Like that doesn't add up for me. I don't think that's something they can really like convince consumers of.
But they're not going to launch. I don't think they're going to launch a brand new, like a Switch 2. If it's an iterative Switch, I think they can get that out as on the same time frame as a brand new PlayStation and a brand new. If they announce it,
get out a little bit before. If you get it out ahead, when everyone's just crazy,
I think they
and
can
that
react
release
a little
date for
faster.
PS5 is so far off, and then Nintendo's like, new Switch.
I don't think they need to
I'm
announce that
hungry
new
for that
Switch
performance
right away,
now.
though.
I'm hungry for just a new device. I got the money. I want to spend it on something, and I never got a Switch. Okay, now's the time.
I think they wait till PS5 and Xbox One are formally announced, like they're reveal events.
Yes.
Then Nintendo sees what they got. Like, all right, guess what? You know what? We got the Switch 1.4, whatever they call it. That's also coming out, and it's gonna be like 1 month before all of them or something. Because they can do that.
I think if a new updated version of Switch Pro launches along the same time as Xbox 2 and PS5, if they even launch within 2 or 3 months of each other, that's just that is not going to work in Nintendo's favor. Nintendo's not going to be the one in that time period that we're all talking about.
Right.
So as long as they're not trying to make a brand new Switch, I just think they'll be fine. They have a smaller window of time that they can make things happen. I think that's correct. They're just going to do an iterative update, but I think by sometime in 2010 we will start hearing concrete rumors.
Right.
Like legitimate sources are putting out, hey, we've heard about a Switch Pro or something like that. For sure.
This is why I like your podcast, Damiani, because if this was like a Bossman hosted thing, there'd be bets. We'd be yelling at each other. He'd really try to divide us.
That's
with
what
our takes on this.
But
whereas we're just really welcome to all options.
Yeah, like at this point, you both could be right. Nintendo can do whatever the heck it wants. Next year at E3, guess what? Coming next spring, spring 2020, we're announcing it at E3 2019, a new revised Switch
Plus
that will have a new chip in it, will be more powerful. All future games will still run on the old Switch, but if you want that, you want the power boost, you got to get on there. But sorry, not all future games. It might even be like, hey, certain games might only run on. They did that with 3DS. Certain games might only run. They're the one I think that's been only one that's done it of Xbox and PlayStation. They've both, Sony and Microsoft, I believe, have mandated that their games got to run on both.
I think so,
but Nintendo has been like, yo, Majora's Mask on the
3D,
Xenoblade Chronicles, that it's not running on your regular 3DS. Good luck with that. It's just like you got to have that. They did with DSi with certain games that are DSi. Nintendo's not afraid to do that. Maybe that's what gets some of the most recent current gen ports to happen on Switch before the new systems launch or whatever. It's like, hey, we will be getting Kingdom Hearts 3. It's a year later or something, but still sell. Who knows?
Oh, come on. Just not even.
They'll double dip for that.
Don't bring
They'll double dip.
Some Zelda items in that, dude. Some Zelda items, baby.
Zelda items in Kingdom Hearts.
Get the Master Sword, dude. Woo!
Sword with the Master Blade.
The
Master Blade. We're just it's all wild speculation. The point is, anything can happen with this. But going on the history and stuff, I just think 2019 is a little too soon.
I think you're right. I think there'll be a different version first, smaller or something. Then they'll do the big boy plus Pro version. Seems what they usually do.
Yeah. But you and Jones might be right. They might.
It is a different landscape now. Yeah.
They might not want to wait
did the
that
S
long.
and the X around the same time.
You're right. Oh man, you're right. Yeah.
They might see that First Strike is their best, strategy going forward with if they're going to stay the Switch route. So
let me put one last thing. I don't think Nintendo's waiting to make this decision. I think Nintendo has way more information than they need to figure out what they want to do with hardware for the next couple of years.
On it. They just need to know when to pull the trigger.
Whatever plans they have, I think they're laid out. I think it's in concrete at this point.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. Let's move on to our final question, which is coming to us from Samuel. Hi, allies. This is right up both your alleys.
Oh.
With Simon and Richter Belmont joining Smash, I've noticed a renewed interest in Castlevania. Do you think this can be a start of a comeback for the series? If Smash generates enough hype, will it be enough to convince Konami to release a brand new Castlevania game, or at least a collection on Switch?
No, podcast
love and
over.
respect,
We're
Samuel.
I can't do
Yes.
this. No.
Yes. Yeah, baby.
Go.
They made Metal Gear Survive, dude. Anything is possible. They're making that stupid phone game coming out. There's some, whatever interest there is in it, there's some. I think they gotta do it. They gotta do that collection, Damiani.
Okay, so do you think a collection or a new game?
I think a collection would be first, then a new game.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a collection makes a lot of sense.
Too much.
I think those have done, just jump on that Crash Spyro wave.
Oh my God.
They're all selling really well, and if you talk about Spyro making a comeback, it's like Castlevania. Come on,
and it'd be like a
relevant
good
franchise.
I could see them
that have
doing
a history
it
of powerful sales
out of spite too to Iga.
I gotta know your thoughts on
sure.
this. Oh, I mean, we'll get to Iga in a second. Your thoughts on the collection. What would be in this collection?
1, 2, 3, 4. Symphony of the Night. Rondo of Blood.
I've played those games
Symphony
so
of the Night.
many times.
Yes.
Just for me personally, I'm not saying it's going to be good sales, but just for me personally, for Brandon Jones, I've never played any of those DS crazy games. I played Circle of the Moon a little bit, but if they just had those 6, just like maybe if it was like a separate collection or
If they
something that
could
was
do
just
the dual screen
Circle
right.
of the Moon all the way to Harmony of Dissonance, which I think
That's the only thing
what was
I'm
the last
concerned about.
DS?
Yeah, everyone gets Harmony
Oh,
Last
Order
DS
of
games.
Ecclesia.
But there were 3
Ecclesia.
on Advance and 3 on DS, right?
Order of Ecclesia is the last handheld
one,
one.
yeah.
Okay. If you had
With,
those
Renoa,
6,
right?
the GBA to DS era,
Dude,
boy,
you do
sign
multiple
me up.
collections.
I'd be, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the one I'd be really interested in.
I'd buy them all.
You do like
I would
yeah, you
probably
do like
buy them all.
the classic. You do like the classic 2D Part 1, like the NES 2D classic.
Yeah.
There's
collection,
only like 3 though.
or
Yep.
maybe the Nintendo Classic, then the non-Nintendo
Yep.
2D
Yeah.
One to
Castlevania
Symphony.
Classics, which have like Rondo, Symphony of the Night, other stuff like that. Then you have the 3D collection.
Don't need Dracula X. Get that.
Not the Mercury
Yeah,
Steam
yeah.
stuff, but like the older 3D stuff. So
Well,
both
Men of
64
Innocence.
games
Oh.
and the PS
And the PS2 games?
and the PS2 game collection.
That'd be way
And then
down.
you have 2 handheld collections, I think.
That's like 4 collections,
Yeah,
dude.
I think you can get all the handheld one class 6 games.
Maybe you put
Yeah,
all
you
the
could
handhelds.
for
Okay,
sure
do that.
come on, there you go. So that'd be 4 collections right there, unless they put all the 2D in the one.
It's tricky smashing those
This is
two
the
screens
3D
together.
ones
I
would
don't
be
know how you
like
would do
not
that,
worth
but-
their own.
I don't think they would do the PS2 ones or
No, that would
64
be-
ones
yeah.
either.
Oh please! Put
I wish. I don't think they would though.
All right, so they just skip the 3D ones. And it's like the old 2D collections, and then the more recent handheld.
Because sales
ones.
wouldn't improve, you know. That would the lament
Like few
Curse of
people,
Darkness collection would
few
sell
people would be pumped.
very bad.
I would be pumped, but
Yeah.
I think few people would be.
Castlevania 64 on Switch will be the best-selling version of Castlevania 64.
Probably it will.
The game's done. Just put it on Switch.
Yeah, I mean,
Support it.
I'm out of this
Make it happen.
podcast.
You're out of this podcast. One thing I'll say, you mentioned and get stuff. We do have Bloodstained still coming out, and it got recently pushed to 2019.
Yeah.
and the Vita version canceled.
How is that game gonna sell, Brad? I'm so curious.
well, I think it'll do
I
well.
hope.
I think
Curse
it'll
of the
do
Moon
well.
was great.
Yeah.
I think so. I haven't checked on Curse sales, but I think the sentiment around that was very positive.
Yeah, I didn't see any
Yeah, yeah.
negativity whatsoever about that.
I was pleased
Turning
with what I
people's
played.
focus toward it. Yeah.
I just don't think because of that. I just don't think anytime soon you'll see a new Castlevania game. So I don't think they want to time it anywhere near Bloodstained because they don't want to go that head-to-head with Iga thing.
Dude,
Yeah,
I don't
no
know.
matter-
You saw after Mighty Number 9 crashed and burned, Capcom came back with 11.
Oh no, that makes sense because it was reactive. I don't think they want to go immediately head-to-head. Like
No, I
there's
mean they could
new-
go after.
Yeah, if they see how Bloodstained's reception, if it's not the greatest reception, they might see that as like, oh, dude, fans want Castlevania
What if they,
back.
they don't have to
want-
launch them at the same time, but what if we get that announcement like 2 days before Bloodstained comes out? You're like, oh,
I'd be like, yes,
you know.
yes, I get both.
I mean, it's great for Castlevania
show it
fans,
up
but
right
also at the
before
same
people get their
time,
hands on
it's,
it.
I mean, at that point, you've already I think most people are already on board with Bloodstained. You either bought it or you
Yeah.
pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
I don't think it have that big of an effect.
Or
but-
you're a backer and you're getting it anyway.
But that now puts in the back of your mind, like, if this game's not good, I still got another Castlevania game announced. May have hope for that. Just, that's rough. What would you even want to see in a new Castlevania game? First of all, 2D or 3D?
2D, baby. 2D, do it,
Brad's,
do it,
like, thinking
do it.
about this.
Dude, think of all the amazing 2D games we've got. You
I
just
know.
finished Guacamelee 2.
I'm thinking about it, Jones. Damn
There's
it!
like
That's the thing I'm thinking about with
Side
3D though, is
scroller or-
because
yeah, 3D.
I think 2D would be a better place to start because they would find their footing easier. 3D is always a bigger risk for Castlevania, especially because it historically is not as beloved. I would say. I think 2D is a smarter bet. But I want to see a proper 3D Castlevania game again, Jones.
Of course.
But I don't think Konami will
Baby
invest
steps.
enough.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Dude, what if it was based on the Netflix show? What if it looked like that?
That's Castlevania 3.
What if it looked like... No, I know, but like that kind of style. Like,
Oh,
what if-
like the
you know
anime
what I mean?
style? I mean, they did that with Dawn of
2D
Sorrow.
anime, I think, would be
They did that with like
really,
the
really
Dawn of
cool.
Sorrow game,
Of
Portrait of
course,
Ruin.
yeah, just the evolution of that. Just really crazy hand-drawn animation or something that looks like
Yeah.
that. I would be way down. But yeah, give me castles, give me locked doors, give me all that, items I gotta find.
I mean, to
me that's the series at its best. 4 is my favorite, but Symphony is just no question the best Castlevania.
I want it to translate as closely as possible to what's her name? Something Kojima. Her art that she's done. She did like all like the Symphony of the Night designs. When you see like their actual character art, like Lament of Innocence, I want them to look as close to that as possible. But I think that's highly unlikely.
Yeah. Just like one day.
Just give the game to Vanillaware. Just give it to them.
Vanillaware.
They'll make it. Just give it to them. Yeah.
Okay.
They can make awesome 2D games.
I believe it.
And they have great art.
I just don't think Konami's gonna do that.
No, they won't.
I just don't think.
No, I'm gonna believe, dude, that it's gonna happen, man. Castlevania is gonna come back in a way we actually want, not like your phone game that we're getting again or whatever.
I think you would have to get Huber on board. I don't know if you have the magic within you to make it happen. I think you need some.
I can get Huber on board.
Yeah,
real
Huber
easy.
To predict it.
Real easy.
Get
got
Huber
that
to
guy.
predict it.
Huber's
Yes,
already on
happen.
board, and
get
I mean,
Huber to start tweeting, and then maybe.
Let's go. Let's go.
So we'll see. Maybe there'll be a Castlevania.
Lots of hopes and dreams in this episode.
Yeah, a lot of hopes and dreams. Good to be positive about future Castlevania. We'll see. I want to wrap this up with a little bit of a final thought. We were talking about prices and stuff. Nintendo is charging. Yeah. This goes to something that happened recently, very recently. I think it was just yesterday. So Shigeru Miyamoto gave a presentation at something called CEDEC, Computer Entertainment Developers Conference in Japan. And Bloomberg posted a nice article kind of summarizing the key points that Miyamoto made during the presentation. First big point he went to bat for was he went in hard defending Nintendo's fixed price model for games, even when it comes to mobile games. In his exact words were, in Miyamoto's words, "I can't say that our fixed cost model has really been a success, but we're going to continue pushing it forward until it becomes entrenched. That way, everyone can develop games in a comfortable environment. By focusing on bringing games to the widest range of people possible, we can continue boosting our mobile game business." And they specifically addresses mobile here. And just for a quick summary, for now everyone's caught up, Super Mario Run was one of their early efforts that was a fixed price. You got to buy it to unlock all of it. It sold well, but it didn't really become a phenomenon like some of its other titles. Niantic's Pokemon Go, which now had a little bit of a hand, a very small hand in, not totally, but like Fire Emblem Heroes, which was a free-to-play model with in-game transactions.
Same with Animal Crossing.
And Animal Crossing as well, Pocket Camp. Fire Emblem has generated more revenue. It's been the biggest success of all of them for them. Not better. I mean, it's not Nintendo's, but Pokemon Go has eclipsed all of them, and
of
also
course.
Pokemon Go is back to like huge numbers again.
Yeah.
But Fire Emblem Heroes, they saw success with it, but as you pointed out, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp came next. It got a lot of criticism because they think they want the extreme other way on that game, where it focused too much on in-game transactions and trying to aggressively monetize the experience, and it came at the cost of Animal Crossing gameplay. People just weren't having fun with it.
Yeah, I just think when you think about these three genres, when you think about platforming versus tactics versus whatever the heck Animal Crossing lifestyle, I guess Animal Crossing is about getting stuff. So like when they announced Animal Crossing on mobile, I was like, oh boy, here we go. That's why when Nook showed up in the trailer, it was like, hey, give me those tickets.
Fire Emblem is much closer, the mobile game, to other mobile games, right?
It's the prototype,
like the
prototypical
gacha game. Yeah,
thing.
so it's something people are much more used to, I would say.
It has the characters that you want. It has like the fantasy characters. Yeah. It's got like
I wonder what the percentages of people that play Fire Emblem that like don't really know anything about not a lot about Nintendo, don't really own Nintendo consoles, just love that style of mobile game and just found it like, oh, this Fire Emblem, what a cool new mobile game.
Sure, there are people that
don't know the
legacy,
don't know the characters.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely not be surprised, but I think the reason Fire Emblem has been so successful because it does fall in line with what has been a successful model for other mobile games. But this comment to me kind of sounds more that Miyamoto's giving these examples here, and I think Nintendo's quality of games do the best when they can charge a fixed price and give you, because I will say this for Nintendo, for most of their games, historically, the trends are changing more recently, but historically, they held out longer than most everyone else. And that when you paid $40, $50, $60 for that game, you were pretty dang sure that you got like everything they had planned for that game on that disc. They were like one of the last to jump into like heavily DLC, and even now their DLC isn't the most intensive or offensive stuff, really. Obviously, people point to some examples that they're trending that way, but at the same time, like Breath of the Wild, okay, yeah, they have the Champions Ballad DLC and the other stuff,
Trials.
But there's no way I felt screwed out of my like $60 for Breath of the Wild, because that game was when you jumped into that, you knew you were getting like quality. Like I feel like Nintendo's games just kind of like they just command that respect because they've done it that way.
Yeah.
And I think once they shift too far, I think they've dabbled as far as they're going to go. I don't think they're going to compromise any further than what they've gone so far. They're not going to introduce loot boxes or any crap like that. They've just gone where they think they can make a few extra bucks here and there, and like basically game as a service. They've gone as far as I think with their console and handheld stuff as game as a service is they're going to go.
Dude, let's not forget about Amiibo, okay? The interaction with that in Breath of the Wild, like the scummiest DLC you could possibly do is that.
Cosmetic.
Straight up.
I mean, not all of it's cosmetic. Technically, some of it does affect the gameplay as well. But that is probably the worst example. I would only say like you actually get a physical figurine, so you're actually getting
that's
something
cool.
with it.
Yeah,
you're getting a toy, so like you got something. Whereas like a loot box, something you might have got trash.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your money just would have gone down the window to like nothing. I don't really feel good defending that, but I will also say that I think that's as far. I don't see Nintendo going any further than this. In fact, they've kind of scaled back on Amiibo a little bit.
Yeah.
They haven't. They've like reeled it back in.
Well, with mobile too, I can't think of any other Nintendo franchises that fit standard established mobile tropes like Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing do. I can't imagine a Metroid with microtransactions or even like a Mario Kart mobile with microtransactions. It's like I think those games, I think they would be damaging the brand if they set that up. I think just make it $10, $15, and then I'm in.
Yeah, I will gladly keep paying like the prices I pay for Nintendo stuff as long as they keep making the games that they make and don't go ridiculous with the nickel and diming and stuff, or be like, hey, this is the first part of like a 4-part expansion, like, and we already know what's going to happen before we release the game. It's like, wait, what? And why isn't it a part of the game and stuff? Like, I will never question a Nintendo game being too short or shortchanged on content for them. Like, I have very little like examples to go on to argue against that.
Animal Crossing Amiibo.
What about it? Terrible game you don't even play. I wasn't interested in that game.
Dude.
So that's more on YouTube.
What's it called?
Amiibo Festival or
Circus,
something like that. Terrible.
Was it even a real like Animal Crossing game?
No, it wasn't.
And
it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they keep doing that. If they keep repeating that,
well, they haven't done it since.
Yeah, like that. And after Pocket Camp, if they keep trying to make Animal Crossing like that, and they're not learning the lesson, it's like, fine. You know what? You're not. You're not. What you're saying is not matching your actions.
It's got to be a real Animal Crossing
also,
next.
Miyamoto is not in control of everything here, so I do like the philosophy. Like I do like this philosophy here. Like it's talking about protecting the value of your brand, and like if more companies stood up and just charged $60 and delivered a full game and stopped going for microtransactions and could make their money that way, it would be best for everyone. But I think the one short-sightedness of this is that not everyone could survive with this. Not everyone is Nintendo and has that brand recognition. People have to find a way to penetrate the market, and they have to use these, disruptive or alternate tactics to do that. And it can't be a perfect world, I think.
Right.
The last part of his thing, real quick, is he talked about streaming services, basically. And he made an analogy here. So, according to Bloomberg article, Miyamoto then shifted his discussion over to subscription streaming services and cited that what happened to the music industry could happen to the game industry, and that the music industry is still struggling to fully recover from MP3 file sharing of the 2000s and the rise of streaming music services that you can listen to stuff for free, like on YouTube, and you didn't name any other services, but you can imagine all the other ones. He said subscription-style services should play a bigger role in games, but said that the key is to develop a culture of paying for good software. His specific quote here It's necessary for developers to learn to get along with subscription-style services. When seeking a partner for this, it's important to find someone who understands the value of your software. Then customers will feel the value in your apps and software and develop a habit of paying money for them. Mm-hmm. So,
what a fascinating take from Miyamoto. Interesting.
Again, like, I don't really disagree with what he's saying here, and again, you've called me out on, like, it's not as rose tinted as I remember. They have strayed from this, but in its essence, I think of the big three, Nintendo has represented this core value probably the most over like the history of their video game life and existence, and it's something I hope they fall back on more rather than trying to be. Yeah, that was my whole fear. I don't know if you felt that way when they announced their mobile initiative. I was like, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. This is like, well, this opens the door.
I always come back to that Nintendo seal of quality, you know, and like Nintendo does some weird stuff. And I think Nintendo's the type of company that has proven they can come back from almost anything. Like we can write them out and be like, they're losing this console generation, then they come back even stronger, breaking records that have never been broken. So like you never want to count Nintendo out. But I think one of those things that potentially could damage them in the long run is when you lose that faith in that their primary games that they release are not going to be good. That like you never really know. Like who knows if this? I never want to think that a Donkey Kong or Zelda or Mario's is. It might not be what you want, but you can clearly tell a giant Skyward Sword might not be your favorite, but like a lot of people did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that game, and it is a remarkable game compared to a lot of AAA action adventure games. And so like if we ever get into that, I think one of the most dangerous periods for Nintendo in this regard was. What was this service that had just like tons of crappy games? So like Bossman loved to stream them. WiiWare.
Ton of crappy games.
Good
thing Bossman's not here.
Because you can attach the WiiWare name to it, because it's like, well, those were bad, but they were WiiWare.
Right.
Like once you start to lose that moniker and kind of like the lines blur between like what you can count on being a good experience and what you can't. You can hate Fire Emblem, you can hate Animal Crossing on mobile, but like they're good mobile games. So like they're as far as just being well produced, they're not buggy. They don't, you don't put $5 in and then lose it. Like it's, they are like more of kind of a top tier experience if you're used to what you can get on mobile. But again, I think when we start to lose that trust, that could damage them. I don't know permanently, but just that could be a hard thing to shake.
Very true. And looking to the future for this, a lot of this was in the frame of mind of the mobile initiative. The two upcoming titles they still have for mobile that have been announced. So it's interesting to see how this will apply because they have Mario Kart Tour, which is supposed to come out by March of next year. It's the latest supposed to come out. Wow. And they've got something called Dragalia Lost.
Oh, that's right.
Which is being co-developed by Cyber Agent Inc., which is... They've got a reputation. They make a mobile juggernaut called Grand Blue Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
And this company is notorious for being very aggressive in monetizing their game. So you got one that's completely under Nintendo's control, Mario Kart Tour, which that's a game where I don't want to see that go heavily like microtransactions.
Yeah,
I don't want to see like
one-time fee.
I better not be rolled like gotcha for the characters or parts. No.
Again, it would be a huge mistake.
If that game looks good enough, I will pay a fixed fee for that. And like we're done. Just let me buy that game. Mm-hmm. Whereas this Dragalia Lost thing sounds like it's a little bit out of their hands. Like they're co-developing, but they're trusting because this is an industry leader in mobile. I think while people might like it, people are gonna point to that and be like, "Whew, wow."
It'd be interesting to see how much Dragalia pops up in upcoming directs and Nintendo trailers and announcements, like how much they're going to speak on behalf of this game, or whether they're just like, hey, we want to make some money, so we're getting involved, giving them a platform.
Oof.
But
I think Mario Kart Tour, if it looks good enough, is going to like be their best game.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope so.
I think it will. It just can't be $10. I think that's the thing they're still figuring out.
Couldn't it be?
Is the price point. I think that's where they got the most wrong with Super Mario Run, is protect your brand and be all about that, but you still got to play within like the market rules, and the market's not going to let you support a $10 mobile game. They did their best with it. They did okay, but they want it to be like a bigger success. I think they got to find a better price point for that and make it work that way somehow.
Sure.
We'll see. That's all I got.
Cool.
Good stuff. Thank you both for being on here.
Thank you, Jens.
Sure.
I hope let me rephrase that. thank you all for submitting your questions for this episode. If you would like to submit your questions for a future episode of Friend Code for consideration, look out for the post I make the week of our recording. And if you are $5 and up patron, you'll be able to submit questions and related to the topics we're talking about. This week, as you saw, there wasn't too much big news, so sometimes we'll do an episode where it is all just questions from our $5 and up patrons. So thank you for making that work. And
stoked to be here for one of those episodes. Great
yeah,
questions, everybody. They were good.
Yeah, good
it's always
stuff.
fun because it just brings up, and one, it does make my life a little bit
Castlevania,
easier.
Animal Crossing, my heart.
Woo! And also, if you're that $5 patron, you get this episode and other episodes of Friend Code early. On Sundays they go up, and without your support, this wouldn't be able to be possible. But again, thank you for all your great questions and submissions. Thank you both for being on here.
Of course.
And next episode, indie discussion. So get those indie questions ready, $5 patrons. Like, we're gonna have a big blowout episode. But until then, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.